you went from millions of dollars in investments and everything to thousands of dollars,
Not even,
right?
it wasn't even thousands when it was done. You were really at zero at the end of the day. The status quo keeps us broke as hell.
You need to get clear on what you want your money to do and what you're making money for.
Meditation started when I really understood what my existence is on this earth. I followed what my gut was, and your gut is your spirit. And if you follow that, everything starts to pop off. The big myth is you don't borrow, you withdraw, because it's your money.
And
Right.
if you control your money, you control your life.
Am I the person I want to be? Am I the person I need to be? And is my money in alignment with who I am?
This is the Life Well Balanced podcast with me, your host, Nick Halp.
A life well balanced for me.
For me, a life well balanced is simply
Life well balanced is.
I think a life well balanced is.
Jeremiah Young.
Yes, sir.
I am sitting down with Jeremiah Young, investor, entrepreneur, and founder of Matador Capital Partners, Matador Agency, and Matador Concierge, along with Epiphany Advisory Group. It is good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
I'm very happy that we connected and met each other randomly and just started chatting, and I'm very excited to dive into what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's something that so many people need. I think it is something that a lot of people don't fully understand. And I think that a lot of people have the wrong ideas of how to live the lifestyle they want, how to plan, how to prep, and what to do with their money, right?
Right.
So I want to start by acknowledging you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your work. I think everything that you're doing is amazing. And after sitting down and chatting with you, I can tell that you do what you do because you want other people to benefit and have the lives they dream of.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Awesome.
Right.
So thank you very much.
Quite welcome. My pleasure.
So before we dive in here and talk about capital and companies, what season of life pushed you toward building this lifestyle?
It's always been like that. Really, all of my life, I was exposed as a young child. My parents exposed us. My mother, we were raised by a single mother. My father was in the military, so we had both sides of exposure to people that were doing things that we could only dream of. And not only were we exposed to them, but they were also vessels. We took likings to each other, so they held my hand, showed me what they were doing. But it took me 30 more years to really understand what it meant. So I was exposed. I didn't know how to make it happen. I didn't know how to get it. But along the way, slowly but surely, I kept building, but didn't know what I was doing until somebody showed me how to do it. And once I got exposed to that mechanism, it's just been going. It's been soaring ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The how is always, I feel like I've started so much stuff and I'm just like, I don't know how to do it. I'm missing that one piece. And it's like you get that one piece that gets you starting and making moves toward what you're looking to accomplish. I think it's a major deal.
Yeah, sure is.
Was there a moment where your relationship with money was a bit negative?
Throughout life, it's not a moment. It was moments.
Okay.
Right? Because I mean, it's almost like as you're learning and as you're growing, there's a lot of peaks and valleys, and sometimes you don't prepare for the valley, but you always prepare for the peak. And by the time you're up there, the cost measures to get up there cost you more than winning. And it's almost like you have to keep recreating the wheel so that you know where the dips are, how to plan accordingly. So next time this happens, I'll be prepared for it. So there were moments like that. But I think the one moment that changed my story was when I was in St. Louis, Missouri. And I was a part of the .com era when that whole bubble just went in the smoke, and they pretty much left us out cold. No matter how much revenue you made the company, no matter what your status was with the company, you were really at zero at the end of the day, including stocks, including investments, including 401ks, and all the relationships you built. It just went crashing down. And it wasn't just one .com company; it was across the board. So you couldn't leave one and go to the other one. So at that point, I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? And lo and behold, I had a mentor when I was with, I don't want to say the company's name, right?
That's not.
When I was with that company that said, hey, you're a great guy. Let me tell you what I've been doing. Let me show you. And then that's when he introduced me to his financial planner and how his portfolio was done. He's like, I know you know me, but I don't know enough about your personal life. But if you allow me to help you, I will. And that's really where the turning point was in my life is, okay, this is how they really do it. So all of the learning I got along the way, it was almost like stepping stones to get to this point from, once again, somebody I'd never met a day in my life. And we hit it off just like that. And Eric just showed me how. He said, do it like this and you should be good. And in a short period of time from that, another devastating thing happened, and it was my family. So I had to leave Missouri or St. Louis to come back to Jackson. So it was like I was in a lull, and I was at a real low.
When it rains, it pours,
oh
right?
my God, it was more like a tsunami.
Oh man.
Right. I mean, you had a tsunami with a hurricane all at the same time. So just imagine both of those coming in. But the strong and weary, they survive better than anybody else. So I coupled a lot of things from the past along with my newfound financial experience, and it kind of helped me survive. I was still thinking on that level, but I had to make a lot of different shifts in life in order to get back on to that same plateau I was before. So I would say that low was really like an all-time low for me.
Because you had mentioned to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you went from millions of dollars in investments and everything to thousands of dollars,
Not even,
right?
it wasn't even thousands when it was done.
Oh man.
So you think about it. The way we're taught is to go to school, go to college, get a job, get a 401k, invest in the stock market, open a savings account, open a checking account, find a credit card. I mean, it's just the ongoing cycle of things that are going on. And when you follow that system, if you ever fall off, it's hard to get back on. And when you fall off, you got to start from credit. Then you have to go back to finance. Then you have to go back up the ladder again. But at the end of the day, who's that for? Is that for you, or is it for the company you're working for, or is it for the stock market, the hottest piece that's on the market, or what's hot? You know what I mean? What's the trend right now? So really, it goes back to when you start to really unfold who you are and what you're looking for and how you want to accomplish it. All of that stuff. It means really nothing at the end of the day, because by the time it comes to gets to you, you get the smallest piece of the pie. Everybody else has already won.
So you need to get clear on what you want your money to do and what you're making money for.
Right. But you really need to find yourself more than anything. That's the lost pot.
Oh, so how does someone find themselves?
Well, once again, first of all, you got to pray. You have to meditate. And you have to spend more alone time than bonding time, because you always have ideas and things from other people or recommendations from other people, but they never really know who you are. When you go to bed at night, they're not there with you, unless it's your spouse, of course. But even at that, that's still another being with another brain and another body, another cell. So you really have to kind of get to know yourself. Reading is huge. Meditating is huge. Working out is huge. Going for long walks or just doing things by yourself. The only way you can connect with you is to really get in a place where you and the divine are in sync with each other. So that's that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did meditation enter your life, and why did you start that process?
Well, it goes, I still talk about my childhood. My name Jeremiah. My father was a minister before he passed away. And he was a better minister all my life. So that's where the name Jeremiah came from. And my father always said, you got to have some prayer life, or you got to have something where it's just you and nobody else. And during that journey, I kind of went down a rabbit hole. I forget what the book was that I read. It was, help me with the author if you can, but As a Man Thinketh.
James Allen. I love that book.
I still have that book.
I buy that book to give away to people because it's $5.
Right.
You can get it for $5.
I would highly recommend that.
Yeah.
And then the second book was Who Moved My Cheese.
I have that book too.
I will never forget that book.
Yeah.
And I think my father was in town, but no, it was my mother who gave me a book. It was called The Prayer of Jabez.
Okay.
And I'm like, who is Jabez? I never heard, you go to church and you talk about the Bible and they talk about everybody, but Jabez, they talk about John, Peter, Paul, Jeremiah, Isaiah, all the books of the Bible, but Jabez really, or Jabez is what it's really called. But It's a small book. It's maybe 2 verses long. But if you listen to it, it says, bless me indeed. This is Jabez talking to God. Enlarge my coast. Keep your hands around me so that no evil can harm me, or that I cannot harm evil. And that has been in my stirrup, in my soul for a long time. And once I started really understanding what it meant, and then I went to learn what my name really meant in the Bible, couple those together, I'm like, wow.
Mhm.
I mean, like, in these books, these are people that are talking to God, and God is talking directly to them. So it just took me to a point where the meditation and being able to talk and read and listen and keep digging. So it's not what I hear. I have to go back and study more to get where it is. And so this whole
Mhm.
meditation thing, it really came at a point when I was at the lowest point of my life, and I had nobody to talk to, nobody would hear me, because I've always been the strong one. And everybody comes to me for advice.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, who do I run to?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I'm
Mhm.
kind of all over the place, but really that meditation started when I really understood what my existence is on this earth. And that went from doing things that none of my friends, none of my colleagues did in life. I went and sold Lamborghinis at a young age. I sold Mercedes-Benz at a young age. I worked in corporate America. I've been up to a VP level by the time I was 26 years old.
Wow.
Moved across the country. I mean, I can go on and on, but those are some of the things that got me into meditation, because I followed what my gut was, and your gut is your spirit. And if you follow that, everything starts to
Mhm.
pop off.
So if someone's listening, and that's a lot to unpack,
Mhm.
give them one sentence
Mhm.
from the advice you just gave.
Find a quiet place.
Okay. Man, this is, I just want to veer off so much. And I want to share some of my story too,
right.
because, life is happening to everyone, right? And I think that a lot of people go through it and they feel so alone. And you had mentioned a time when you were at your lowest, and I had that not that long ago,
Mhm.
to where I remember I was so broke. I was on my knees in my closet crying
Wow.
because I didn't know how my bills were going to get paid.
Mhm.
I was in the process of eviction, and if I heard a large truck outside, I'd run to make sure my car wasn't being
Wow.
repoed.
Mhm.
And so if I'm someone that is stressed to the max like that, and they don't know where to turn or what to think, can you give them a snippet of advice on how to start shifting into making some changes?
Yes. Have you ever heard that saying, turn off the noise and listen to the music? So it's not about the words that are coming from the music, it's the tones that are coming from the music. The tone is a connection, true connection to the soul. So you think about pianos, you think about water, you think about violins, you think about drum beats, you think about horns and all that. But none of those have words. It's all music, it's all melodies. And that part triggers a certain part of your physical, mental aura that changes everything for you. And once you start listening to the music and not the words, man, look, it just you find yourself in a place where you can't even understand what it is, but something's happening, something's shifting. And after you get to that point where you're in harmony with your soul, the right words and the right situation and the right people will start just walking into your life. Really, that quiet place or that sound of music that's real. It's absolutely real.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that moment I shared with you, I used to listen to Rise Up by Andra Day over and over, and I still listen to it to this day in a gratitude way
Yes, sir.
of looking back at that time, knowing that I made it out,
Right.
and knowing how much that song helped, because it gave me a lot of hope, and it changed my nervous system,
Right.
because the music starts changing how the chemicals are working in your brain, and you start really adapting how you feel, and then which changes how you act, and then you start moving forward. So we do a who, what, and why on the show. And so I'm curious, who shaped your early beliefs about money? And we kind of talked about that, but who specifically shaped your early beliefs about money, and were they healthy beliefs when they first started?
I have probably one of the, I mean, when I say this guy changed my whole life, right? I went from dropping out of college to an interview at Acura Lamborghini. Jeffrey Bender, I'll always say his name loud because he's the one person that believed that I had what it took he said, you're a game changer. I'm just going to show you how. And when I looked at, boy, this guy was well put together, spoke well. He was a general manager, so he kind of ran the store. But to watch what he was doing and to listen to the words he was saying, I know he's like, man, you're a knucklehead. Even though it was almost like he felt like I wasn't listening. I was paying detailed attention. And I followed him for quite a while. I mean, I worked at the dealership for a while. I was with the Lamborghini franchise when he was able to bring it into fruition. I mean, he moved to other stores like Brumos. I don't know if you remember Brumos, Mercedes-Benz. So I joined him there, and then he went to Orange Park, and I joined him over there again. And now he's in Tennessee at another Mercedes-Benz dealership. But when I tell you this guy, it's almost like, you always say you look for somebody that's your Superman or your superhero outside of your home. He saved my life. He changed my whole life because rather than following the status quo, I watched how he moves. And he really changed the status quo for me, not only for me, but everybody around us. But the gentleman, he's just, from a money perspective, well put together. From a financial intelligence perspective, well put together. I mean, he had the boats, he had the Rolexes, he had the, things that you grew up hoping for. He had it, but he wasn't, he was willing to share how he got it and what he did to get there. And for him to be my mentor, even today, we probably speak maybe once or twice a year now, but his teachings kind of helped me come along. They opened my eyes to a whole new world, if that makes sense.
So we're talking about fancy cars, Rolexes, but then we also talked about stepping into knowing yourself and becoming who you're meant to be. I think a lot of people, they either look at fancy cars, big houses, things like that as a driver, or a lot of people look at it negatively as, oh, you're buying that stuff, then you're a bad person.
Right.
So how does someone balance that to where, because when I started my first hustle, first business, I was in my early 20s and my main objective was
money.
I'm going to make money and I am going to get Lamborghinis I am going to get these houses on the beach, and that shifts over time. And when I was 28, I bought a Mercedes AMG E63. It was more than the dream car I thought I ever wanted, and it ended up being a money pit.
Right.
And I was just dumping money into
that
it.
part, right?
And I traded it into Mercedes.
Right.
And then I have my Honda now that I got from Mercedes.
How about that?
But then, these things change over time, and I found myself stepping into a cap for myself when it came to money, because then I started telling myself, well, I don't need money to be successful.
Right.
Success to me is providing for my family and spending time with them and everything. But then I started noticing money was passing me by because I put this programming in my head of, well, you don't need a lot of money.
Right.
And until very recently, honestly. So what do we tell someone in their, let's say in their 30s, with that kind of attitude about money of either I'm hustling to just get stuff or getting stuff is bad? Like, how do we merge and blend that?
Well, and the biggest thing is understanding assets versus liabilities. And that's just not tangible items. That's people, that's places, that's environments. Is your environment an asset or is it a liability? Are you trying to keep up with the Joneses or with Bobby or Johnny or whoever it is next door? The status quo keeps us broke as hell. And I don't care who you are, from the 30-year-old to the 70-year-old or greater. Status quo would kill you, because keeping up with Mercedes-Benz is cheap, is good, but whose money is it? Is it Mercedes money or is it your money? Are you working to pay Mercedes for their logo and their brand? Or are you working to do something for yourself? Because once that car is gone, what do you have left? Nothing. Same thing with the stock
Debt.
market. Right, debt, right? You have debt, or you don't have any money because you spent all the money paying for that vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be in a place, or you have to get with a system that would allow you to have all those things, but not to be broke about it, or not to be, working just for that. So, like, give an example: a house. Once again, the status quo say go to work, get a job, get a house, get married, have kids, buy a house, blah. But all of that is a liability because you got to keep up the maintenance on everything, including the mortgage, right? When you don't have gas in your car, you still have to pay your mortgage, right? When you pay your mortgage, you still got to put gas in your car. So how do you balance that out? What type of system do you put in place? We were not taught that system when we were growing up, any of us. Some of us are legacy and we have it built into us, but I would say 90% of the people out there have no clue at all. So that 30-year-old that's out there that's working to get that brand, we all have dreamed of having all of this stuff and take it from, I'm 52 years old, about to be 53 in April. I've had it all. I've had the cars, I've had the boat, I've had the house. I've had land, I've had jewelry. Money, you name it across the board. It's all there. But at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, who does this belong to? Is it mine or is it theirs? Because if I owe money on it, guess what? It's not mine until I pay it off. And then when I pay it off, I still got to spend more money because I got to maintain it. So my advice would be get your ship in order.
What does that look like?
Well, one, life insurance.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Number two, cash flow. Number three, liquidity. Number four, solitude. And when I say solitude, that means that don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Do what's best for you. And once you're together, nobody else can break that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. What experience most change how you see finances and freedom?
My wife.
Okay.
Marriage.
Marriage. Positively or negatively?
Both. It really is. That's once again, marriage is a dream. Everybody wants to get a dream, big dress, nice wedding, fancy, event, go on a honeymoon and live life happily ever after. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. Marriage is simple, but it's not easy. And when I talk about that, that means that when you meet a spouse, so I'll give an example. In my world, my wife was more established than I was when I met her, but I was more skilled at a lot of things than she could ever be. So that's what made our marriage work. And even today, we're 17 years in and it's still work. It is still work.
Right.
Right. The compromise is there. So that changed my whole game because number one, I was no longer living just for me. I was living for my wife, and then we have kids, and then we're living for the kid, and then, it's just an ongoing story. So everything outside of my marriage is a distraction, right? It's crazy how that works, but that's primary. You go to work is a distraction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You still got to come back home and deal with those same issues that you left with the morning of. So for me, I think what changed my whole perspective was marriage and trying to really understanding my role as a man and as a father and as a husband. That kind of brought me to a complete halt because I thought I knew it all, but really I didn't know anything.
I want to dive in on this.
Okay. No problem.
How does someone understand their role in a healthy way with their spouse?
That's tough. That's really tough because every spouse is different, right? So what my wife is and what your wife is totally different than the neighbors across the street. And it's all about upbringing. It's all about how they were raised, what they were used to.
The experiences.
Right. And so for men, we have a different role in life. First of all, we have to have the toughest skin in the world because now we have to be the provider. We have to be the protector. We have to be, the doctor sometimes. We have to fix it all. We got to make sure that we are not crying and we're not, we don't feel that pain that everybody else feels. In order to become the man that we're supposed to be, we all need mentors. We all need somebody that can help us. It may be a family member, it may not be, but there's somebody out there like us that we're all going through the same situation, but mentality, there's somebody out there like us, right?
With a successful marriage.
With a successful marriage, right.
You don't want a mentor that is having a horrible marriage. And he's like,
yeah,
do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
It works every
Yeah,
time.
go sleep in the car. You know what I mean? No, that's not the real dog house. The dog house is being able to go back in the bed and your wife turns her back and you turn your back. You know what I mean? At least you're in the same place, you know? But yeah, you have to have somebody who has had a successful marriage. And for me, that was big. I mean, like most of my friends and mentors are much older than I am. And so them giving me genuine information really helped me become a better man in my situation, including my wife, who also, you know, says, hey, you can do better at this, or, you know, me not understanding her femininity when she wants me to be soft versus me wanting to be like, you know, I want to be like stern. So I really have to, you have to have mentorship to communicate, but it's also when you go back to the Bible, when you go back to meditation, when you go back to all of that, when you get in a quiet place, you're able to digest everything that you learn and then put it into action.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. I think when you start slowing down and putting yourself in that position, everything becomes much clearer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm a married couple, what is the best advice you can give them around finances?
Every couple is different. And
right.
Being in this business, you've seen 31 flavors of it, right? The best advice is to make sure that you are secured in your platform before you're secure in that spouse's platform. Because you can do a lot of things together, right? There's a lot of what they call is, you know, spousal alignment, right? So yeah, they have, you know, you could. So let me step back for a couple seconds. When I say you need to have yourself aligned, that means that you as an individual have to be satisfied with who you are financially before you can be satisfied with somebody else, because you can set it up and they be set and you're still left out in the cold. Does that make sense? So give an example. When we talk about life insurance, there are two types of life insurance. There's death insurance and there's life insurance, which is the adjective is live. So death insurance would be a term policy, right?
What's that mean?
Term life, that means that there's a life insurance policy. It can go from 50,000 to 20 million if you want it. But there's a term. That means there's an expiration date on it, number one. So if it's a 20-year policy, that means you have 20 years to die before the policy the policy is canceled out. The second part of it is we call it a death insurance or a debt insurance, because if you pass away and you have debts out there, guess who the creditors are going to make sure they're satisfied. But that's also a protective for your family, because they don't have to go after your personal assets when that policy can pay for that amount of debt. So that's what we call a debt and a death policy, which is term insurance.
What kind of debt any debt?
Any.
So like student loans, credit cards, anything.
It's not to say that they'll collect anything, but that's what they're going to go after first. They're going to make sure. So think about when you buy something. When you buy a house, they ask you, do you have a life insurance policy? Right? When you buy a car, they ask you, do you have a life insurance policy? You go for a business loan. They'll ask, do you have a life insurance policy? Why? Because if something happens to you, they have a way of collecting that debt.
Interesting.
But it's never explained that way.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Does that matter?
It does matter.
That's
it really
crazy.
does. That's how sometimes what determines whether or not you're going to get approved for that policy or approved for that loan or whatever it might be. Right? Because they want to make sure if something happens to you or that spouse or who are all the parties involved, they want to make sure
still get their money.
They're going to be able to have a way to, not to say they'll get it, but have a way to collect that money.
Okay.
And so the death benefit portion of it, you want to have enough term insurance that 3 hours, they say 1 to 2 times. I say 3 to 5 times. What your debt worth is how much term life insurance you should have. So let's say you're $500,000 in debt.
Okay.
5 times that is what?
1.5.
All day long.
Okay.
And it's easy to get a $1.5 million policy. Like, when you present that to people that don't really understand why, I don't need that much insurance. Hey, all I want to do is have enough to bury me.
Yeah.
Do you realize it costs almost $100,000 to bury you now?
Yep. And now people are trying to shoot you into space and stuff. Have you seen that?
I've seen, man. I actually saw where people are being buried in their character. So if you ride motorcycles, they'll have you embalmed on a motorcycle.
What?
Yes, in a glass case. And they'll put you in the ground just like that. I'll show it to you.
That's wild.
It's crazy.
There's a place, I think it's in Washington State too, where it's just open forest and they'll just throw your body in it to cycle you back into nature and stuff. It's wild.
There's so many things that are out there. I mean, it's like you go from one extreme to another.
Yeah, we're getting way off topic.
But it's all right. But these topics, they make sense because that's what happens when you don't, You asked me the one thing that somebody, I don't care what age it is, what do they need? They need to know the truth. They need to know the truth about what these policies are or what these finances are before you get involved, because you can get too deep and come out with nothing. So let's say you talk about this term insurance policy. If you don't make the payment and it lapses, guess what you have?
Nothing.
Nothing. Neither does your family.
Wow.
If you outlive that policy. So if it's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, whatever, once you expire, if you outlive that policy, you've wasted your money.
And then it's probably harder to get a new policy
Yeah,
because
you're
20
older.
years older.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. So the way my firm couples it, and we'll get into that later on, but the way we couple it is that you have lifestyle and wealth all on the same stratosphere, meaning that a term policy to cover debt and death. That's what we call it, the debt and death or the borrowed insurance, because you never will pay term insurance off. You can pay it off, but it only lasts for the amount of time you're alive. That's why they call it term insurance. The word term means what? There's terms, right?
Okay.
That means there's you have a time lapse, but it's a cash cow for the insurance companies because most people forget about it.
Is that why they make it so hard for you to understand?
I don't think they make it hard for you to understand. It's just that there's always policies, there's always things to make one policy better than another policy better than another. And then all of a sudden you got 100 types of policies out there. You just have to know which one's the right one for you. And having the right agent or the right advisor in place is really critical. And I'll say this, I'll switch up, I'm going to kind of balance it out a little bit. Well, say you have somebody that's a stockbroker or what we call a securities licensed agent. That means money only. Right. That means it's all about what's going into the market. It's all about what's going to the NASDAQ, what's going to, the Nikkei and all the different, market measures that are out there. Right. And it's nothing against any of those guys at all, but their main mojo is the market, the stock market and margins and assets under management and how much money do you want to put in the market. But at the end of the day, if the market crashes, whose fault is it?
It's your fault because it's your money.
It's your money. And once you give up that money, whose money is it?
It's their money.
Until you decide to go back and get it.
Interesting. There's so much. We could talk for hours because everyone needs to understand this.
Yeah.
Me personally, it's, especially with investing, it's just so confusing.
Right.
And I've read books on it and and I'm still like, I don't know.
Everybody has an opinion of it. I mean, like me, my opinion is, I'm telling you what not my opinion, but what the facts are behind what I do. That's how we live this agency for forever, right? As a matter of fact, one of our taglines is #the truths in life and wealth. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If I tell you I don't know it, I don't know it. But I've studied enough to know the entire industry, but I only practice in certain areas. So when there comes a time where a client has a question about something or they're not feeling good about a situation, at least I can speak truthfully about it and say, hey, this is where you are and this is what you need to do. And that's, once again, because we speak the truth, that's how we transform a lot of clients over into our platform. And we're 100% referral. I have yet to spend any marketing dollars on this company since 2004.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right. So
circle back to the life insurance, because we said death insurance and life insurance, right?
Yep.
Do you want to touch on
I can.
the life insurance piece?
Yes.
And then do you want to tie in what you guys do? I feel like that kind of walks you
Yeah,
into what you do, how you do it, and everything, right?
Perfect segue. Yeah, I can do that as well. So we talked about the term insurance. Term insurance is not life insurance, that's death insurance, right? That's when you die, because the key to it is that you as the individual will never see a dime of it because you'll be dead.
Okay.
So it's all built for the beneficiaries and any other creditors that are out there, right? And then you have life insurance. So the reason why they call it life insurance, anything that's in finance, the word speaks for itself. Term insurance is term insurance. It's time lapse, right? Life insurance is life insurance. That means it's alive. That means it's on the person who's insured, which is you. Right now you have blood running through your veins. We're talking right now. So it's life insurance on you. And the reason why it's live, because there's growth in the account that's live. From the day you start to the day you die or the day you cancel, even if it lapses or whatever, there's still life in the policy. There's cash flow in the policy if it's built the right way. And so the status quo says that we buy life insurance and we pay for it every month for the rest of our life. If you don't mind me, I'm going to say that's bullshit. If you don't mind.
No.
Right? It really is. It really is because we're taught, or what we were, even as agents, when we go to, training, and we have all these different, there's about maybe 50 different life insurance policies out there, right? You have short-term custom life policies, you have lifelong policies, you have monthly policies, you have quarterly policies, you have annual policies, you have index policies, you have universal life policies. I mean, you have spousal policies. I mean, there's so many policies. Children's insurance, there's so many policies out there. But one thing about life insurance, period, most of them have some of the same riders on them. That means that if something happens to you, if you have any long-term care that needs involved, it's already built inside the policy, right? If you have any type of, what do you call it, where you can't practice, you can't do anything for yourself, and you need to have like a sitter into the house, that's already built into your policy. It pays for it. You don't pay anywhere out of your
Which
pocket.
is that new? Because I come from the healthcare space, and that wasn't a thing before.
It's always
Interesting.
been there, but it has to be with the right carrier. Every carrier doesn't offer it. So in most cases, the mutual companies, say like Penn Mutual or Northwestern Mutual or New York Life Insurance, there's a few more out there, but there are a lot of mutual companies. Most mutual companies offer things that some of the stock-based companies don't offer.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really, you have to study it to a science, and that's what we have done. So in that life insurance policy, there's so many avenues that you can take. It's all based on the culture of the company that you're dealing with, or the culture of the carrier that you're dealing with, right? And so what we've done as a firm is, okay, let's cut through the bull. And that's, once again, we talk about Matador. It's no bull. Sophistication, no bull. We don't have a bunch of fluff. It is what it is. It's black and white. And our clientele base goes from the age of 2 years old all the way to the age of 85, which is pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
The demographic is huge, right? But let's start with the 50, let's say the 40 plus, right? The 40 plus doesn't know what the 40 minus know, right? So they've done things traditionally for so long that, it's supposed to be go to work, get a job, get a life insurance, get married, have kids, have policies, cover your family. So if something happens to you, that's all term policies. You can have a life insurance policy, but you're paying monthly for it. So if you pay monthly for something, guess what you're doing? You're financing it. So you have to pay interest on that payment every single month, right? So I'm like, once again, here it is, somebody else making money off of your hard-earned, work, right? So how do you change that policy? First of all, you make it a shorter term, and you fill it with cash. How do you fill it with cash? There's another piece out in the insurance world that's called annuities, index annuities, which is that's like saying that you have an annuity with a stock type strategy. Does that make sense? Okay. So you take your annuity. If you got a 401k, you can roll over that money into an annuity. There's no fees, there's no taxes, no anything. It's a straight rollover. That's why they call them rollovers. So they're transfers or rollovers. You go from one carrier to another one. It's called a like for a like. So if you take that policy, roll it over into an index annuity, the index annuity in our world, this is going to blow you away. In my world, you get up to a 27% bonus the first day you roll that policy over. So say you have 500,000 and you get a 27% bonus on the first day. Let's do the math on that.
I'm going to let you do that math.
You stop me for a little bit. I'm
I'm not about to do math like that on the camera in my head.
It's roughly about, roughly about $60,000.
Okay, just right.
First day. So that 500,000 now becomes 560,000.
And then you compound that.
That happens day one. And then there's strategies in that mix that have Barclays in there. They have BNP Paribas. They have the not Dun & Bradstreet, but Standard & Poor. They have the New York Stock Exchange. They have all types of policies. They got a lot of AI stuff built in there now, which is where all the money really is. But what we do is we put those strategies in there. So we mix those strategies. And let's say you got about maybe five to 6 strategies working for your policy. So a year later, you're looking at returns that are averaging about 12 to 17% on top of the 27% you got the first day. So you get first day, you're up 27%. Every year you get an index credit or interest credit, and that money just it keeps compounding over and over and over and over again.
So say that as plain as you possibly can for someone that has no idea on how any of this works.
Right. So the best thing is to sit down with an advisor like myself or like my team, right? Because we're different in a lot of ways. We will show you how to take your money and roll it into an investment that'll pay you for the rest of your life. The strategy is to get an index annuity, a term life insurance policy, and a whole life insurance policy, and let them work together.
Okay. And you can borrow off of some of those policies,
See,
right?
that's another myth, right?
Okay.
You can borrow, of course. When you borrow, what's the first thing you have to do when you borrow?
Well, you got to pay it back, right?
That's exactly what I mean.
So what if you don't pay it back?
Then that'll lessen. So in some cases, it'll lessen the amount of your death benefit. In other cases, you can be sent to collections.
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's interest on those payments.
So what's the myth?
The big myth is you don't borrow, you withdraw. Because it's your money.
Oh. I didn't know you could do that.
Most people don't.
Interesting. Now, we didn't get to the why, so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to run a why.
Okay, right.
Why does building wealth the right way matter to you now?
Control. That means that I
Okay.
control my money. I control how I spend it. I control when I want to get it. I control when I want to put it back.
Okay. And
Right.
if you control your money, you control your life, basically, right?
Bottom line.
Okay. What are some of the myths, other myths, since we're talking about myths?
Right.
What are some of the myths that people have about wealth
Mm.
that you see?
That you have to be born into it in order to have it. Right. The other myth is that you have to keep investing into it in order for it to make you money. Right.
Mhm.
The other part is, investments are so broad. You can have investments in property, you can have investments in cars, you can have investments in jewelry. So the biggest myth is don't follow the status quo. Research what you're investing into before you put your money into it, because the risk of loss is 100% from day one.
Now, what's the status quo? Because you keep saying that. Is that just keeping up with the
Pretty much.
Joneses?
So for me, the status quo would be, okay, I'm looking at the stock market. I'm watching, CNN, Bloomberg. I'm watching the market all day long. And then I'm watching the news, and I'm looking at the trends that's happening, whether it's something going on with fuel, something going on with oil, something going on with real estate. I mean, the status quo will keep you worried all the time. But if you stay in your own lane, you only worry about the part that you are involved in.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which meditation probably helps with
It does
too.
help. So I'll give you a good example that I used with a client just the other day.
Okay.
Does a diamond ever lose its value?
I don't think so.
Yep.
But aren't they starting to make diamonds now too?
That's the difference in research. You have to know the difference between moissanite and a real diamond.
Okay.
If it says lab created, it's
Yep.
not a diamond. It has the glitz and the glamour like a diamond, but it's not a diamond. And so where they're making up for it in the diamond market is to dress it up with nice silver and gold so they can raise the price up. And I'm not joining anybody, man. It's just that's just true facts. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of know what you're getting yourself into before you get it. So in my household, before I buy jewelry, I buy my stones first, and then I go and have the stones set in a piece of jewelry, which I usually have already, and I have them melted down and build what I'm looking for. Now that asset is mine. The only thing I'm paying for is the labor on the piece of jewelry.
Interesting. Now, I'm just a regular person. I work a 9 to 5. I don't really understand much of investing. I don't have melted down jewelry. I don't,
You don't have to have a lot of it. You just gotta have one piece. You know what I mean?
And
Heirloom or something.
yeah. Okay. I'm just the regular Joe person that wants to start taking action toward financial freedom. What are 5 things that I can do to start moving in that direction?
Take a look at your money first. Look at
Okay.
where your money is. If it's in a bank account, are you making any money, or is it just sitting there? The second part is the assets do you have? Can you move those assets without taking a loss? Right. So we collect a lot of things. So I'll give you an example. You said you went from a Mercedes-Benz to a Honda, right? What's the asset? The Honda.
Okay.
Or the difference in money that you're keeping in your pocket
Right.
from the Mercedes-Benz to the Honda, right?
Gotcha.
Because you can probably go out and buy another Mercedes-Benz, but do you want to go back to that feeling again of having to keep
I don't
it
even
around?
have a car payment now. I'm paid up.
My point, you have the title, right?
Yeah.
So it's an asset. If you
Okay.
decide to take that car and you want to be a DoorDash or Uber driver, guess what? Now that car becomes an asset because you're making money on that car.
And I did do that in the past because I lost a job years ago and I was an Uber driver.
Right. But that's what I'm telling you. So the part that when I say the status quo, a lot of people don't look at the assets they already have in place.
Because I feel like people always say that cars are, as Rich Dad, Poor Dad would say, a doodad.
Yeah.
Because it's a liability.
It is a liability.
So because as soon as you drive it off the lot, it loses value.
We can go off.
I know. I'm looking at the time. I'm like,
That's
don't
all
have
good.
enough time.
How much time do we have? So, but that's the whole thing is, this is why I think God put me on this earth for this reason. Because I'm a resource, I'm a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience. I've done a lot of things and I've produced a lot of things, but not only that, but I've helped a ton of people get better at what they already had in place. So you talk about the car, right? So when you go to a dealership and you buy a car, how much knowledge do you have about what's going on behind the desk that they were penciling the numbers, and how much control do you have about what's going on in the finance office?
Not
Pretty much
much.
none. Because you're at their mercy to get it approved. You're at their mercy to give you the right payment. They're at their mercy to give you the right car.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my firm is because I was in the business and I was in almost every walk of life for the business. I took that and turned that into a process under the concierge. So what that means is that if I have a client that's looking for a vehicle, all they have to do is fill out an engagement form. And as they're filling out the form, it's finding that vehicle. And I have relationships with I think there's about 600 dealerships across the country. We can say, hey, my client's looking for this car. They already know who I am, or we do an intro. Let's just let them know we're not just a average broker. We're a concierge agency. And by the time the client's ready to buy the car, 72 hours, they're driving. Mm-hmm. And all they're doing is 45 minutes to an hour in the dealership.
You're not sitting there for 5 hours.
Right. Just to process the paperwork and get them out of there. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. So you said, number one, look at your assets. What follows that?
So look at your assets. Which one of those assets can create more wealth?
Okay.
From what you already have. Because it all starts with $1. It's not always 20,000. Mm-hmm. It could be 5,000. It could be 1,000, right? So how do you reinvent that asset into becoming a wealth pool?
Okay.
Third part is to put it to work. Put it to work.
What's that look like?
Okay. So we think of work as waking up in the morning, putting on our pants and shoes and going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But so give an example. If you live on a farm and you have chickens, do you eat the chicken or do you sell the eggs?
Well, it probably depends on the chicken. I just found out there's different chickens for different things. But we could go all day.
That's another rabbit hole, right? But that's what I'm saying. So it's that story that says, it's a cliche, are you going to make lemons or are you going to make lemonade?
Right? Teach a man to fish.
He will feed your family, right?
Okay.
And that's the whole idea. So you take those resources, like, give an example. If we go, like you mentioned that you lost a job and immediately you went and started working at DoorDash. Think about the number of people that you met in DoorDash that you didn't know if you would have been on that job. So give an example, you were having coffee. I was having a wind down day. And our paths crossed. And now we're sitting in front of each other having a great conversation about things that we both are inspired to become, right?
Yeah.
It happens like that. So you use those assets. It's not, when I say put it to work, sometimes you put your mind to work. Sometimes you put your mouth to work. Sometimes you put your shoes to work. Sometimes you put your muscle to work. Find something to do.
So assets aren't just money and things.
Not at all.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
What else?
What number were we on? 3 or 4?
3. So now we're going to 4.
The fourth one is to own it.
Okay.
So whatever you decide you're going to do, own it, even if it's a lot of things. Nobody can tell you how much you can do but you. And when you're tired, you know when you're tired, right? But if your mind tells you to keep going, because you're getting closer to who you are, to get in harmony with yourself. My wife always tells me, she's like, man, you got this going on, your financial firm, you got concierge going on. I have a development firm. We have a concrete and construction company. We bought tractors. The day that we bought the tractors, we got a contract.
We don't even know how to use these tractors.
Oh, we know how to use them. Right. We know how to use them. I got a team, but we just I didn't even put gas in it yet. And then you already got somebody saying, hey, can you come pour me a driveway?
I think we met that day.
Yeah, that was exactly.
Yeah.
So we poured those driveways. I'll show you the end result.
Nice.
We started one driveway, then we went across the street to the next driveway, and then next week got to go down the street it's becoming a cycle. But because I'm the contractor for my house, for my own home, I have those connections. Remember I talked about putting it to work? So those connections that I already have, I'm putting it to work outside of what I'm already doing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so those contractors now come to me like, hey man, my guys need to have a 401k. So so it's almost like the conversation goes from one extreme, from the barn house to the boardroom, all in a matter of 10 or 15 seconds. And the fifth thing is to live it. So you own it, then you live it. And when you live it, that's who you are. So there's it's from an unknown author. He says, to remember who you are is to forget who they told you to be. And the author is unknown. I have no idea, but that is on my screensaver at home.
It's funny. I just was listening to something and it was, I'm paraphrasing, but it hit me hard because it said, if you forgot who you told yourself you are, who would you be? And I was like, man, like that. I'm like,
it's potent.
Who would I be? And you keep mentioning the Bible. It just made me think of I am that I am.
Right. Moses, the burning bush.
You know,
right.
I am.
So who is I am?
I don't know.
God is I am.
God and
Jesus. I mean, like, so that's another piece that I hope we have time to touch on it, because that is that rabbit hole that's got me, that's, how can I say it? I know who I am. I really know who I am, because the rabbit hole is like, okay, you go to church, they tell you we're talking about this verse today, then they do a parable on, who Joseph was, who Mary was, who John was, who John the Baptist is, and what does Revelation mean. You go all through it, and it's good information, but if you don't study what they tell you, you only get that pocket of information. So when I started studying the Bible, I'm like, okay, who are these people? And they're not a person, but they are people. And then it opened another rabbit hole to like, okay, and I Googled it. That's what really started. I'm like, who is Jeremiah? And then it started telling me about who Jeremiah was. And I went a little bit of research. He's, people call him a weeping prophet. It's not a weeping prophet. It's not crying. It's, I told you so. I told you not to do this. God told me to tell you not to do this. And this is what's going to happen if you do it. So that's where the weeping prophet is. He's like, I'm crying out to you to make a change. Right. Look at my personality. I'm like, how did my dad know the name me Jeremiah, and for me to live like what my name is? And then it went into, okay, the universe and codes and frequency and energy, and how do you align, and how do you know? I mean, there's this thing about, numerology. Numerology is not really, that's man's version of what it is, right? But it's some truth, a lot of truth to it. But you have to know your truth, not the universal truth, right? And so I'm able to tap in. That's exactly how Epiphany came around, because every person that I'm in front of, there's always an aha moment, whether it's for me or for them. But I'm like, how do you translate aha? And it's, okay, Eureka. And then Eureka turns into Epiphany. And I was in the shower one night, and all of a sudden, Epiphany. And that's how Epiphany was born. Matador is the no bull portion of it, but Epiphany is the next level of Matador. So everything that's Matador will evolve into Epiphany, and we're rebranding that right now as we speak. So the clients that are already on Matador, they already work through the Matador platform, but there's a seamless transition. We're doing a launch on the 18th, a soft launch for the existing clients on the 18th.
Okay.
So anyway, I mean, there's a long story behind it, but it's just like when we met, it was like 3 days after I said we're going to do it. I said, Lord, send me the right people, people that are almost on the same frequency in the right universe. Let's make sure that we're aligned at all times. You asked me about alignment in our last meeting. It's like the alignment, you can't call the alignment just happens, and you just have to follow suit.
Yeah. I also heard something the other day. It was telling a story where a guy asked a teacher, well, what do you do when you live life? And the teacher said, you don't live, life lives you. And I was like, man, that's good stuff. Well, we're running low on time here. Yeah. We're gonna have to have you on again for some more stuff. I think that we've just touched the surface of what we could unpack for people, and I love that you're just doing this to help people change the trajectory of their lives and live the best they can. So with that being said, and given everything we've talked about, what does a life well balanced look like for you?
I think I just said it in my last segment.
Okay.
It's when the alignment happens. and you don't have to work at it. It just happens. That's balance.
Mm-hmm. And I think you have to let it happen. You have to flow.
You have to be open to letting it happen.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
So a little of the surrender.
Correct.
Right.
That is, man, you hit that one out of the park. Surrender is the whole, you have to surrender to your being and not somebody else.
So we end our time with a speed round.
Okay.
And we call it balanced or unbalanced.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say balanced or unbalanced.
Okay.
You're going to tell me not whether you are balanced or unbalanced, just in general.
Universally balanced.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
So balanced or unbalanced, leveraging debt to build wealth.
Unbalanced.
And if you want to touch more on it, you can.
Yeah.
If we want to just...
Unbalanced, because if you're stuck in that credit card wheel, to buy one to get one, to buy one to get one, eventually that wheel is going to go flat.
It's going to catch up to you.
It's going to, the tire's going to go flat. You know what I mean? And you're stuck with, especially if you're not generating enough revenue to pay it off, and you're just going in that wheel. It's unbalanced.
Balanced or unbalanced, living below your means long term.
Balanced.
Okay. Building wealth before clarity.
That's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think you got to be a little clear to start building wealth,
Not
right?
really. Sometimes you have to take the chance.
Okay.
Because, give an example, we talk about status quo again. You know, I keep going back to 401ks, right? Let's say you go to 401k, you invest a certain amount of money into your 401, out of your income into the 401k, your company matches it. But at the end of the day, when you get ready to retire, you might have to go work at Walmart because you don't have enough retirement money, right? We see it over and over and over again. That's unbalanced. That's blind. You're going off of what somebody else told you to do. So if you take that same scenario and you pull it over to our side, I know I'm a little biased, by the way, but you pull it over to the Epiphany platform, that money, you are now the owner of your investment and your 401k. And we have to make sure we teach you how to make it work, not letting it work, because that's not your money until you retire. You can't touch it. You have to borrow from it, and you still have to pay it back. And then when you leave that company, it has to be rolled somewhere, it has to go to another house to be stored. You still don't have that money. You take money away from it, you're slapped on the wrist. You have to pay taxes and you have to pay fees on it. You know what I mean? So we take it to a house where, and I'm not shy to say it, it's an insurance-based platform. That is the missing link in the financial world. Everything is bank-based, not insurance-based. And I guess we'll say that for the next segment.
Yeah. Balanced or unbalanced, meditating daily as a business tool.
Balanced.
Choosing stillness over urgency.
Balance.
Letting ambition drive your identity.
Balance.
Balance. Okay. Feeling behind financially.
Repeat that one again.
Feeling behind financially.
Feeling behind, I mean, like you're behind the 8-ball?
Like you're feeling like you're behind in your finances.
That's still a double-edged sword.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, for me, I think that would be both ways, because it could be motivational or it could be detrimental.
Right.
You know,
that's kind of like,
that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I think that's both. Outsourcing tasks to buy time.
That is balanced.
Balanced.
Yeah.
Balanced or unbalanced, delaying gratification.
That's unbalanced.
Unbalanced? I agree.
And I say that because you need to celebrate every win.
Yep. I was listening to something the other day, and he was talking about you have to celebrate your wins along the way, and we mention it in the book too. But he said, you know, I had a client that I was coaching, and he owned a winery, and he gave me this bottle of wine, and I told myself I'd open it after I published my first book. And he said, I'm 3 books in and the wine bottle's not open. And he's like, I haven't celebrated because, okay, I wrote the book and it was published, but then I had to go do book signings and go on tour and then do this and do that. So I was still in the process of doing the tasks that needed to get done to grow the business. And I never celebrated. And it made me realize, I got home after I listened to that, and I said to my wife, I'm like, I haven't celebrated the stuff that I've accomplished already.
And Nick, you have to take advantage of that, because when you wait for somebody else to celebrate you, you're already on to something else.
Yeah.
And if you don't celebrate it yourself, you can I wish I could, just like with a bottle of wine. I wish I could. It's too late now. It's already
too
gone.
late.
Yeah, but you can always celebrate all your past wins at any given time. But when you get a win right now, man, there's no greater time to celebrate yourself, without permission.
Yeah. Balanced or unbalanced, redefining success midlife.
Balance.
Balanced or unbalanced? Coming on the Life Well Balanced podcast.
Balanced.
There we go.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
2 ways. You can find me online. We're at www.epiphany.ag or thematadorcapital.com.
Awesome.
And we don't do a lot of social media right now because the privacy of our clients and what we do and the way the platform is set up, we don't do that. But you can always go on the website. You can fill out a profile sheet. And that'll really help us get to know you before we get to know each other, right? So it's well balanced, if you will. So that it's non-intrusive, and we'll make sure we take care of it.
Okay. So final question. If someone listening feels financially stuck and mentally overwhelmed, what do you hope they hear today?
The truth.
Okay.
Everything that we said, you can write it, you can document it, and we'll back it up 1,000%.
What question should someone ask themselves tonight about money and peace?
2 ways. Am I the person I want to be? Am I the person I need to be? And is my money in alignment with who I am?
That's good. So with everything we covered, is there anything that you want to share that we didn't talk about?
No, I mean, the biggest thing is regardless of all of this, every human being has a purpose. You don't have to find your purpose, but you have to know your purpose. Once you know your purpose, the find will happen. And always pay attention to the signs and the symbols, because it could be something that you least expect, but it's the most profound gift. So pay attention to the signs, find yourself, find your person.
Man, I love it. This was great.
It was great, Nick.
Thank you,
yes,
brother.
Sir. No problem. No, thank you for
Awesome.
having me on. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. The Life Well Balanced podcast is proudly supported by Cole PR Software Consultants. Cole PR helps small businesses, nonprofits, and government organizations bring their big ideas to life through custom software, AI-powered solutions, and seamless system integrations. Whether it's building smarter workflows, creating secure digital platforms, or scaling your technology with confidence, Cole PR combines global talent with practical delivery to make innovation accessible and affordable. Visit colePRSC.com to learn more about future-proof solutions built for today.